Uh, Mahesh, we'll wait for 1 or 2 more minutes, and we'll start at 2:35. We'll give people a few more minutes to join, and then we'll start. So while we are waiting, thank you guys for joining on time. It's always appreciated. I'll give a brief introduction about our speaker for the day, Mahesh. He is an up and coming enterprising developer in the Outsystems world. He's been an Outsystems friend for the last 3 years now, and he's working as an Outsystems developer for the DigiFac based out of Isaac. He's done a couple of projects in Outsystems for enterprises, and this IDP implementation is one of his core competencies, which I had uh, the privilege of working with him on as a part of the project. So I think he will be there'll be a good session that Mahesh will take. I think we had a lot of interest from our previous episodes where people wanted specifics on or a demo on how we can integrate existing SSO tools, especially for Azure AD. And IDP is a component which is supported by OutSystems. So yeah, I think Mahesh, it's 2:35. The floor is all yours. Please go ahead, take it up.
Yeah, thank you for the brief explanation about the event. So, coming to the quick, how single sign-on process will implement in OutSystems using of identity providers. So, what is SSO? SSO is an authentication process that allows a user to log in multiple applications with a single set of credentials. So, in our
Uh, Sorry. Hello.
yes,
Yeah, Mahesh, we can see your screen.
mm,
Have you moved to the next slide?
yes, yes, Subbu.
Yeah, maybe it's still not refreshing for us.
Okay, just is it okay now?
No, at least I am still seeing only the title slide.
So,
Mahesh, have you done full screen on your laptop? Are you?
yes, Subbu. Yes, yes,
So
full screen.
maybe that is why you're only sharing the PPT. Share your
Mm,
whole screen. Can you
okay.
stop sharing? Start sharing and share your full screen. Yeah, I think now it will
No.
be fine.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So, what is SSO? It is an authentication process that allows a user to log in to multiple applications with a single set of credentials. So, as an employee, we have to navigate to multiple applications at a time. So, for that, we have to access the every application. So instead of that accessing the applications with credentials, we have to access to single application initially, and later that we can access the remaining applications without giving the credentials to the applications. So it will be work with the protocol SAML 2.0, OAuth and OpenID connector. This SAML protocol will use it to that exchange the data between the identity providers and the service providers. Service providers is nothing but our OutSystems applications. So, what is an identity provider? Identity provider is a service that authenticates users and provides identity information to the applications. So, in our systems like in Microsoft Azure, as we have the storage data is storing in the Microsoft Azure Active, and also in Okta or some AWS Cognito and Google Identity providers like this. So if you want to access the applications directly with the Active Directory, like in the identity providers, so these identity providers will give the access to the applications through SAML protocol to access the applications. So how does this single sign-on works? So whenever the user tries to access the application, OutSystems will generate a SAML request. These after requesting after generates the SAML request, these OutSystems application will redirect to the identity provider. Identity provider here we are taking as an Azure AD. So these Azure AD, identity provider will take the request and authenticates the user with user credentials. So it will generate a SAML response and it gives back to the OutSystems application. So OutSystems application verifies the response and gives the access to the users. So in the second application, we are trying to separate the application. This flow will automatically goes to the direct to verify the application without taking the any authenticating the applications. So for this,
So let's pause here for a second.
mm,
Sorry. Let's pause here for a minute, and if anybody has any questions, we can take a couple of questions. See, SSO, as most of you guys know, and if you've attended some of the earlier episodes, we in the masterclass episodes, one of the first things we covered is that OutSystems offers single sign-on for all applications within OutSystems, which means once you've authenticated yourself for any application in the environment, you're automatically authenticated for all the applications in that environment. So as long as your session remains active and you have access, the access roles and the security access roles for the corresponding screens and the corresponding applications, you will be able to seamlessly switch between applications without needing to re-authenticate over and over again. Now, what something like an IDP forge component helps is even that, especially on your mobile devices and on web devices, if your device is already registered with your identity provider like Azure AD, once you authenticate with SSO, then like for the mobile app, it's extremely seamless and it remembers and you don't need to re-authenticate over and over again. And for a web device also, depending on your device and depending on how the device is registered, once you have registered with your SSO login for your AD, it remains active across all of the applications. So you don't have to remember multiple credentials, multiple passwords. Makes it seamless in that sense. For enterprises, it is also extremely useful because it helps them manage access to applications also. Because as Mahesh will explain in the coming slides, when you deactivate a user in Azure AD, you can have that uh, through APIs flow back into OutSystems and you can deactivate the user here as well. And because that credential no longer is valid, the SSO or the login is no longer valid, and automatically the user loses access to the applications. So it helps keep the offboarding process and the access revoking process that much simpler, that much more seamless. Yeah. So, any questions so far, or we can proceed ahead? Okay. All right, Mahesh, please continue.
to implement the single sign-on in the out system. So before that, we need to configure the Azure AD. So for that, we need to log into the Azure Active Directory portal. After that, in the left side of the pane, we have Enterprise Application option. So clicking on that option, search for the OutSystems Azure AD. It will be naming as Microsoft Entra ID as well. So and selecting that application and clicking on the add option down here, create an application. So after that, we have to select the single sign-on method. Initially, it will be disabled. So for that, we in the left side under manage can, so we have the single sign-on option. By clicking on this SAML application, SAML protocol, SAML, SAML
Mahesh, hello. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's only at my end, but your voice is breaking up a little bit. You want to maybe just repeat what you said in the last maybe 30 seconds?
Okay. This single sign-on option will enable. So is that okay? So, hello.
Yes, you can start from there. Yeah, 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 you can go ahead.
Okay. So initially the single sign-on method will be disabled. So by clicking on the single sign-on on the left side of the pane, it will show the space select single sign-on method. Here we have SAML protocol. By clicking on the SAML protocol, we need to configure the SAML SAML configuration. So see here, the first section we have basic SAML configuration. In this section we have an edit option to edit the detail. So by clicking on this edit option, it will open the sidebar. In this we have to mention this identity provider identifier. So okay. So here we have a star symbol. Here we need to change. I mean, we need to change with our environment URL. I mean environment URL. So this identifier field will identifies the IDP application. So that IDP will redirect to the IDP SSO and it will redirect to the OutSystems application. So here we need to give the reply URL as well. After that section, we can change the attributes and claims. So I will show in this page. So here we have user attributes and so initially Azure AD will map some of the claims to the our outsystem environment, like given name, username, email address, and name is this. You can edit the that claims, or else you can add some more claims to that attributes as well. So here, while clicking on the edit button, it will be redirected to this page. So in this, click on add new claims. It will show this page like they have to mention the attribute. So as of now, we have to select some user city need to map here. So giving the name as the city and select the source attribute from the drop down. Here we in the drop down we have multiple attributes: user account enabled, user assigned enabled, all these. After that, you have to save the claim. It will show after saving the claims, it will show under the user attributes and claims section. So after saving the claims and the basic SAML configuration, the SAML certificates section will be enabled. Initially, it will be in the disabled state. So here we need to download the federation map. We actually these metadata XML file can be downloaded from here and also we through the app federation metadata URL, which is here. You can access through this URL as well. So in for by downloading this I mean metadata file used in the IDP forge component to configure the application. So okay. Now coming to Microsoft Graph API implementation.
So, before we go into the Graph API implementation, let's again take a pause in terms of how the configuration was done so far. So, do we have any questions on how the application or the single sign-on, the SAML application creation is done? So, essentially, what you need is at least one SAML application per environment. So if you're doing dev, UAT, and prod, you need three applications so that you can have each connect with the Azure AD and have it authenticated. One of the points that Mahesh touched upon was on claims. Mahesh, if you can go back to that slide. Yeah, so go back to the attributes and claims. I think one slide back. Yeah. So one of the things which is very powerful, which you can use is in these claims itself, you will get a lot of user metadata from the AD, and you can use that information to populate an extended user table within your application. Let's say you want to manage an employee directory, then you can use these claim values to populate your employee directory, and which can be utilized in the employee's journey downstream while using various other applications. So this helps bring a richer experience to your application overall, a richer onboarding experience for your end users as well. And similar options are obviously available for other identity providers also. But this is one area where you want maybe spend some time and look at what are the various attributes that you may end up using, or your end user metadata that you may use across applications for the journey. And then this is a good place where you can have that configured so that your overall journey, your overall application process is extremely seamless and is a richer experience. Any questions? All right. I think then Mahesh, you're doing a bang up job because everybody's understanding everything or nothing. Generally, lack of questions means either, but we'll assume the former. So go ahead. Good, Mahesh. Please
Okay.
continue.
So now we will go with Microsoft Graph API implementation. Actually, why do we need to do this Graph API implement? So whenever the user tries to access the application using of Active Directory credentials, the detail all the will be created or else updated in the OutSystems entity by uh, by the authentication time. If it is successfully user details, all the user details will be populated in the OutSystems entity. So then this Graph API will be used to get all the users at a single time, or else we can access the user details without authenticate the application as well. So in the Microsoft will provide some Graph API links to access the user details. So for that, you have to access give the API permissions to access that URL. So for that, you have to go to SAML application, which is here OutSystems Azure AD. Under the manage selecting API permissions, click add permissions showing here. So it will show open like this. Select the Microsoft graph. By clicking on this, it will show the it will show the permissions like delegated permissions or permissions. You both need the you both have to give to both delegated permissions and application permissions. So in the delegated permissions, you have to set directory.read.all and user.read.all and click on add permissions. And in the application permissions also, you have to give permission directory.read.all and user.read.all. After that permissions, grant the admin consent for default directory, which means you are giving the consent to access the URLs. So the user can get all the user details by using of that API calls. So, so for that API calls, we need client secret value to need I mean to that all the users are a single user, and you can delete the user by using of graph API URL also. So for that create a client secret value, you have to create a client secret. So by clicking on this new client secret, it will open like this in the sidebar. Description mentions something which is related to. and it will be in the drop down. You can select the expiry date. We can set the expiry to that client secret value. So after that, you have to create one more, or else you can update the same client secret value. By clicking on the add option, the client secret value will be populated here. It will The client secret value will be visible only once a time. So you have to store that value. So coming to the IDP configuration, after
So
all
let's take another pause here, Mahesh. Can you go back to the last
okay.
screen? Yeah. So one of the things that you can look at is the fact that the client secret can be set. Sorry, the client secret can be set um, for a particular expiry. So if you want to go down, Mahesh, a couple of slides to the client secret slide.
Yes.
Yes. So you have 180 days, which is what Azure AD recommends as the best practice, and then you've got 90 days, 365 days, 545 days, and you can also set a custom date. So it all depends on what your organization or your customer's organization policy is. Typically, you want it to align with their internal audit policies in terms of how often they want to review and audit any of these secrets and have them reviewed and updated from a CISO point of view. So that is something that is uh, you'll have to do as a planned activity. And wherever you're storing this in your application, it's a good idea to have some sort of the app inbuilt application reminder to where you can set the secret. You can store the secret and its expiry date, and you have an email sent out a week before to the IT admin guy saying, "Hey, your secret is about to expire. Maybe you want to take some action." So again, because um, when we implemented this in production, the client had a longer uh, secret expiry. However, in dev, the client secret that they had given us, they had very limited. They had expiry for about 90 days, and within 90 days, the integration stopped working. So something to keep in mind as far as configuring and storing these client secrets are concerned. All right. Any other questions before we move ahead to the IDP configuration bit? Okay, let's go ahead, Mahesh.
Okay. So coming to the IDP configuration, yes, someone. Okay. Coming to the IDP configuration, most of the say it is difficult to configure the application OutSystems single sign-on application with the IDP, but it is quite simpler to configure the IDP config. So for that we have to install the Forge components like IDP React, IDP customization, and IDP. In the IDP is an actual traditional application. So for that IDP React will work under to it will navigate to traditional to React. In the IDP customization, all the logics which are now creating the user details and updating the user details which are coming from the Azure to OutSystems, all these details are in these logics are working on the IDP customization. You can change the customization logic at any time based on our business scenario. Okay. So open the IDP application in the browser level. It will show the screen like this. So by clicking on the add SAML application, you have to select the provider like Azure AD, AWS, Microsoft, something all this. So you have to select the provider in the drop down, and you have to mention the app name, give them app name, which is used to get the user data, login, use it to give the login. access to the authentication time. So each default, each default by default it is in inactive state. By clicking on this each default, it will be used to go. So sometimes, okay, actually. Sometimes the application name will not be read by the IDP component. On that time, by default, the IDP component will be navigate to the application by default application. So you can select the use custom configuration or user mapping in the IDP also, and you can map the group roles here. By saving the application, the SAML application will be created. After this, you get it will be navigated to yes, service provider connector and claims. The identer will be auto populated here. Why? Because of it in the Azure side, we are already mentioned that identifier. So by clicking on this ADF default claims, the claims will be auto mapped here. So inwards we have a groups which we are passing in the user attributes and claims from the Azure. All these claims will be mapped here, and saving this page, it will be redirected to IDP server and settings. Earlier, we downloaded a metadata file, federation metadata file. By clicking on this import from IDP or federation metadata file, you can upload that metadata file. It will automatically map this Azure AD identifier and login URLs, and certificate is also created by the federation metadata file. So though you don't need to upload a separate certificate here. So after the expiry of the login access, you can create the certificate again. You can upload it here. That is why. By saving this, the service provider connector will be auto populating data here. So in the automatic user provision, it will automatically click. I mean, it will be automatically in the active state. Why? Because of we are using the reactive applications. So if it is in traditional, we have it will be in disabled mode. By clicking on this, the IDP configuration will be done. So in the Outsystems level, we have to configure one more thing. So in the single sign-on between apps, in the administration tabs, in the Service Center administration tab, we have security tab. In that, the we are seeing that single sign-on between apps. For the reactive applications, it will be by default it will be activated. So for in the traditional level, it will be in inactive. So if it is in the inactive state, you can select it and apply the uh, changes. So it will the OutSystems level configuration is also done. Subbu.
All right, that was a good session, Mahesh. So I think we'll again take a break for a couple of
Okay.
minutes. We'll wait for questions. We'll take questions if any. I think people will be keen on seeing your demo in terms of how you go through the configuration in the OutSystems environment. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes for questions if there are any, and then you can share your screen and continue with the demo for how the IDP is configured in OutSystems.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Mahesh, I think we don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
So why don't you stop sharing your screen, get your demo window up and running, and then you can start sharing again.
Yes. Yes. So you can see my screen here.
Yes, yes, we can see your screen.
So I'm taking some, some test application here. So in the login page, we are add some new another button here. It will be by clicking on this, we can log in through Azure credentials. And this is the default button, which is OutSystems login. So in this login button, so wait. So for this, I am creating a new application. In this action, we have to take dependency from the IDP React. So here we have get login URL and get logout URL as also. So in the references, I'm taking the dependency of get login URL client action from the IDP React here. Now I am using that client action over this action. So okay. Here we need to mention the original URL and the SAML app name. SAML app name is nothing but in the IDP configuration, we are assigned some name to the application. So that name will be mentioned here. Just a second.
Mahesh, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. So here we are giving the home page URL like this. Here we have the test URL now. So here we are giving the home page URL in this original URL. Actually we have to implement this maintain this original URL and SAML app name in the site properties. Why? Because of changing in the environments like it down to UAT, these URL names will be changed now. So for that we have to maintain this original URL and SAML app name to in the site properties. So so I already implemented in the demo page, as well I am implementing in the other application. So which is so now we have to redirect the URL to the IDP. For this, we are taking that get login URL as the redirect URL. So publishing here. I'm opening in the browser. It is taking time to load page. So whenever we on the Azure login, it will be redirect to the identity provider. It will be automatically using our credentials. Why? Because of I already logged in through Outsystem, I mean Outlook mail. So it will be automatically open without accessing the credentials. It will automatically open the applications. Okay, I will text it in incognito.
Right, and that's one of the advantages, like I mentioned, of single sign-on, right? Because you are
Okay.
authenticated with your device, you're authenticated with your browser, and in that browser, if your session is active, then it is seamless for you to switch between O365 apps as well as OutSystems apps because the same session authentication continues seamlessly between both systems.
Think something missing here. Okay, it's in anonymous test, so it will be shown here. Making the screen as registered. So I am typing the so I successfully access the application using of my credentials. So I will show you how it will be work in the second application. So in the second application, without giving any access or without giving any credentials for this application, it will be automatically logged in using of my credentials. See here, it is also in Mahesh Bandor, and this is also with my credentials. So here we need to check here in this home page. This is also on the register sheet. So the by accessing the applications between the multiple applications, by accessing the applications using of credentials, we can easily navigate you without giving the any credentials multiple times. This is the implementation how SSO is implemented in the out systems using of this identity providers. We have multiple identity providers. As of now, we are worked with Azure AD Active, so Azure Active Directory. So, Subbu, mm,
Yeah.
it is
Yes, Mahesh.
so the demo is done. I
Okay.
think
Let's see if there are any questions from the audience, from the participants. Okay. All right. Then, if there are no questions, this is the part of the, uh, I think, the session which is
Okay.
more anticipated than the actual the session itself. So let me share my screen. One second.
Okay.
So let me share my screen here and what's that? Okay. So let's. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes. Yes, Subbu.
One second. Let me just double check. Yep. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's see how much you guys actually understood, how much you guys learned, and it's time to test your knowledge and Mahesh's skills as a speaker. All right. So let's get your mobiles out, scan the code, join the quiz, and as soon as we have most of the people joining, we'll start the quiz. Are you guys able to join the quiz? Right, there we go. What 18 people have joined. Okay, we've got maybe two or three more participants to join. Okay, all right. So unless uh, we have someone who's not able to join, I think we start. Yeah, I think we've got everyone now. All right, let's get this started. All right, the first question. Okay, well, all of you got that right, but I guess that is first question. All right, let's see. Next question. So we've got very stiff competition. Very fast fingers actually. All right, next question. Wow. Okay, that's some distribution. So considering what was the name of the session, I think we know that we've got a fair bit who got this wrong, but IDP was the right answer. Okay. All right. Next. 82% got right. Nice. Good. Okay. Let's look at the next question. I think we had a good audience and a good speaker, a good teacher as well. All right, next question. Well, this was a distribution. I think this is going to be a decider for the quiz to a large extent. So, yes, this is one of those questions where multiple answers were partially correct. But yes, you can do a successful login and Graph API, both. You can use both to create and update an AD user in Outsystems. Yes, that question changed the leaderboard significantly. Okay, next question. I think this is a simple one. There you go. That's great. All right. Come on, we got two more questions left. It's still possible to change the game. 86% gets it right. Fantastic. 82% get it right. Okay. Now the last question. It's still tight for, I think one right answer here and there and one wrong answer here and there. I think the tables can still turn. Okay. This by far is the most difficult question in this quiz. Oh my god. Okay. I meant that as a joke, but it turns out it was actually true. All out systems applications are SS enabled by default. Okay, all right. Congratulations to the winners. And we'll be posting this on LinkedIn soon. So congratulations to all. And yeah, do come for the next event on for the next episode of the masterclass as well. we will be we will most likely have a change in that date because it's on the weekend of the Outsystems One event as well. So we'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, I think we had a good session. We had good participation from the team, from the development community. I'm going to be sharing. Let me just continue and share some additional details here. So, as a part of our as a part of the user group event, we encourage you to join the user group on both the OutSystems website as well as we have a WhatsApp as well. And if you like Mahesh's presentation and you want to connect with him on LinkedIn, there's a QR code for that as well. So yeah, please feel free to scan the QR codes, join the WhatsApp Mumbai group, join the OutSystems user group on the user groups portal, as well as yeah, feel free to scan and join, follow Mahesh on LinkedIn as well. And thank you for being a fabulous audience. We'll see you guys in the next episode. I'll leave this on the screen for those who want to scan and join. Thank you for being a terrific audience.